The movie Obsession by Curry Barker. Uh, so this movie was dookie, as we'd say in elementary, my dear Watson. This movie was wow. It was shite. At first, I thought one of my old co-stars from Road Dogg was in it because the guy looks so much like him. The lead actor did have this sort of Johnny Depp sort of dour look to him that sold me on the first third or so of the film. The first third or so is actually quite grounded and realistic, but as soon as the central conceit of the film kind of plays out, it really quickly becomes over campy, uh, just horrible acting across the board, bad writing, schlocky. It's schlock. It felt like an after-school special, but with more blood and gore. The premise, the hook is good though. Like every Blumhouse film, I will give them credit on this. They're always bringing out the hooks. It's like a Jay Salvo anthem. They've always got the hooks, and the hook of Obsession is at first you go in thinking blind, thinking that it's going to be like a commentary on dating apps or something. The guy's like a weird stalker or something like that. But no, what the movie really is about, it's about a guy who's really head over heels in love with his girlfriend or friend who's a girl, and she doesn't treat him so nice. So one day he buys a magic candlestick, he breaks it, and he makes a wish. And he says, "I wish that this chick would love me more than anybody in the whole fucking world." And and you could see where that might be fertile ground for entertainment. And there are shock bits. It's a shock jock movie, basically. And I don't want to write it off entirely. It's got a good visual style, kind of like the Osgood Perkins horror movies that we got recently. It reminded me a little bit of Longlegs in its visual style, but unfortunately, it just did not have the appeal, even shock wise. It did not have the consistency of that film, did not have the good acting of that film. And Longlegs is no masterpiece by any stretch, but it was at least an effective thriller that I think is going to hold up, and it might get better over time. I just don't see how this movie is anywhere near classic status. At best, it's a good teen horror film, but it's almost too bleak for that. The overwhelming cynicism of this film, I think, overwhelms its better aspects because it's trying to like have its ass and eat it too, metaphysically speaking. But it just feels like a Goosebumps episode. You know those Goosebumps? It's got kind of that Goosebumps vibe where it's very creepy. It's very creepy, I will give it that, but it's just not in a good way. Because there are creepy movies like The Shining, for example, or The Changeling with George C. Scott, or like The Sixth Sense, even. These are just movies, horror movies I can name off the top of my head, or even the recent Terrifier movies. Because I love horror movies, man. I've always said that horror movies are the best comedies because horror movies, it's just they're so absurd, and there's always like spells and demons and little girls who can't stop vomiting in every single movie. And then every time you get done with it, I'll be like, well, that was a horrible script. But I think in this case, we're almost getting the reverse effect with Obsession, where it's like Curry Barker obviously wants to be taken seriously as an artist, and whatever, that's cool. This didn't do it for me. This really did not. This didn't resonate with me in any way. It could have been a good commentary on relationships and such, but the relationships in this movie are just they're so devalued from the start. Maybe it could have helped to have an extra half hour, some character development or something like that. But yeah, this movie was it was a slog. It was annoying to watch. I just didn't care for the acting. The acting is the worst part about it, to be honest. It's probably even worse than the script. If the acting style was different, I'm not even gonna say the actors was bad because like whatever. Everybody's trying to like very super emotional. The chick in it very weepy, very like emotionally, kind of like what you would expect from this Catch 22 that she's in, where it's like it's a fake version of her but the real version of her, they're insinuating that it's suppressed deep down because of the magic spell that's been cast on her. So that in itself is it's a very off-putting and alluring concept. But it wasn't done very well. It was like half joking half the time. It was whiplash. It's like on one hand it wants to be taken seriously, but in the next moment it'll be like, haha, wink wink, nudge nudge. And it just doesn't work. It's just a mess. This movie's a mess. 3 out of 10, thumbs down. Um, yeah, it's just another movie. And speaking of just another movie, the second movie I saw is the new Scary Movie. Honestly, this surpassed my expectations only barely. This is the Wayans brothers' third stab, and I mean that quite literally because you know it's a Wayans brothers movie where when they have to explain each and every punchline each and every time it happens at least 6 times so that people who need closed captions or people who fucking watch movies in braille or whatever can understand. I don't even know how you would do that, but apparently there's a way to do that. Um, and the problem with this movie, it promises to be offensive, and then of course it plays it way too safe. Most of the jokes are overbaked. There are some good bits that I can count on my left hand. I can name 3 or 4 really decent jokes in this movie that really hit for me, and for that reason, it might be worth watching at some point when if there's just nothing else on. But um, I like the actors in this movie. The acting in this movie was really good because these are legacy characters. Cindy Campbell, Brenda, Cindy and Brenda were like, dude, when I was growing up, Scary Movie 3, when that came on around midnight on like Comedy Central, that was like my favorite. That was like me and my boys. That was the jam. Scary Movie 3, hilarious movie. Just it's a classic. So of course, it's good to see this comedy team come back. But the problem is they weren't really fully developed as characters until Scary Movie 3. The first 2 Scary Movies were more about shock humor. It was more about it was shock jock stuff. So at this point in the franchise, you go like, well, the Zucker movies, I think, pound for pound, had better gags in them. I really think. I mean, you could make a case that the first movie was really decent all the way through. The first movie was probably the most consistent in my mind. Second movie was all right too. It was definitely it was bad, but it was like excusable in a weird way. I think it's because Chris Elliott's character, and a couple other side characters like David Cross, like they stole the show. Scary Movie 3, I remember it was like Leslie Nielsen, Charlie Sheen, George Carlin. So there's like just enough going on in the background of that movie. And plus the references were pretty funny. The 8 Mile references was the guy who played the 8 Mile guy, he was like the best part of the movie. Scary Movie 4 sucked. Scary Movie 5 was ass, except for like Cat Williams, who was funny. Um, so this movie I would rank in the middle. This is definitely like mid tier. But the problem is, dude, it's like every time they introduce a reference, they have to tell you who the fuck it is. It's like, oh, it's John Wick. Oh, this is the girl from John Wick, from Ballerina. And Brenda's like, yeah, we would have said ballerina, but no one saw that shit. And so it's very recent meta commentaries where they pull up the name of the movie and they've got the African American way and style of humor going on, and in some scenes it works. It does. So it's not a bad movie by any stretch. Is it good? Nah, not really. But there's enough. I think there's a good warmth to the humor here. It's not mean spirited like a lot of comedies are nowadays. Because so many comedies now, bro, it's always like about a couple who's like planning to cheat on each other or something like that. Like it's always got to be something weird and um but So to have something go on where it's like you're going to throw in every pop culture reference of the last 10 years, then plus to play it, to make sure you're really pushing the envelope here, recycled anti woke rhetoric from 10 years ago. Um, and then, of course, this is the worst. This is the fatal flaw of the movie. This is a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. Because in the trailers, it was they were showing the Terrifier clown, and I was like, this is going to be such a great foil. This guy is going to be a great villain for the movie. It's going to be perfect because he's going to be a great replacement for the Scream villain. And then they just bring back the guy from Scream again. I'm like, why are you doing that again? That makes no sense. Like who cares at this point? When was the last time anybody watched Scream? Doesn't make sense. Um, I think the movie would have benefited quite a lot if they had just used the Terrifier villain to some good effect because the one scene they have him in from the trailer is dookie. It's awful. Um, Again, there's a lot of that like I guess you could say scatological humor where it's like body parts, weird body parts. It's like body comedy horror almost. But the special effects in this movie are terrible. The Get Out parody is terrible. It's unwatchable because of the special effects. It's like you could tell they didn't even try. They didn't even try. I could hand a chimpanzee a MacBook and he would come up with better special effects than this. It was beyond awful. Um, I liked the scene with Michael, and I liked where they were parodying the Michael Jackson movie. I did like the scene where they were parodying The Substance, and I did like the train sequence, probably the best scene in the entire movie. And you guys will know what I'm talking about, but again, you're gonna laugh when you're gonna laugh, and I allowed myself to let out some air in more ways than one as I was watching this anti woke scary movie. And it really isn't anti woke at all, but it does kind of poke fun at the conceit of being anti woke. Enough so that I could kind of see where they were going with it. Had they gone a little further with it, like the Zucker films, like the Airplane movies did, where, just let the scene linger a little bit. Don't be so quick to cut to the next scene. And guys, this is just solid advice because I know they're going to make a sequel. So if you want good advice, like good pointers on just little things you could do, I will give the film credit for this though. The reaction shots are really good. Like the reactions to funny things that the characters say. You gotta have that. They're spot on that. Performances all around pretty damn good. Like I mean, again, no complaints there. No complaints there. Everybody's great in it at playing their characters. I'm glad everybody's getting paid. That's good to see. That's good to see. So on a cosmic universal level, I'm at the point where I'm like, there are no bad movies, right? If this is what you got to do to scrape by and pay the bills, hey, I, I'm I'm swell with that. Nobody forced me. Nobody strapped me down in a gurney and held open my eyes like a Clockwork Orange and forced me to watch this sludge ball. No, I volunteered because I'm so Hollywood brained at this point, I guess you could say. I needed a form of escapism. I needed 2 hours of escapism. And so that's what you get. You get what you pay for, you get what you ask for. And so that's my take on Scary Movie 6. And I give it a 4 out of 10. So it's kind of like